All right, motherfuckers, it's week 3. It's early in the season, and shit changes fast. 5 teams came into this week 1-0, and only 2 came out undefeated. So, let's get this shit started. First up, I beat the champ 126 to 73. I nearly doubled up on Tom. If I had scored 20 more points, it would have been an absolute blowout, a crushing victory. That said, Tom did rack up a bunch of injuries to key players. Running back Jamal Charles, huge issue. Got to get that sorted. He kind of carried you through last season. You need him to carry through this season too. And so far, he has scored like next to no points. That said, Tom also made some very questionable decisions that went terribly wrong. I mean, you started Jake Locker, the Tennessee quarterback, over Jay Cutler, who is not only an autism awareness specialist and is pretty sure that vaccinations are what give kids autism, is banging a smoking hot wife that came from like the Hills or Orange County bullshit TV stuff. But he's also possibly the quarterback with the most weapons in front of him this season. So that decision, I don't understand it, and it was rough. It hurt you. I had a scare early on. My boy Matt Ryan, my draft pride, who owned us last week, 35 points or something like that. He did like nothing against Cincinnati. He only scored 11 points, but everybody else was about as good as they could be. So I still carried out the win. It's a nice victory. I'm not going to rub it in. Yeah, fuck that. I'm going to rub it in a little bit. The champ falls, baby. The commish today, the commish tomorrow, the commish forever. Next, the draw. Bird and Sharp, you slapped your dicks together for a 130 to 130 point tie. Bravo. The thing is, this isn't just any regular tie where like everybody scored a bunch of points and it just kind of worked out that way. This is the kind of tie that could very, very, very easily have been a victory for either one of you fucktards. Chase's team looked nigh on unstoppable. Every player had gotten double digits except for his tight end, Dwayne Allen, who scored 0. As Tom pointed out earlier in his rankings, that 0, that's the law, or that's the draw. 1 point and you get the win. And you can't do that. That's twice this season that Bird has gone to the well looking for a late victory, and this time it came up dry. So let's see if you're going to keep doing that. The Cardiac Kid, you're going to need a little more luck to kind of wrap up the season here, Bird, if you want to make another run at the Big Dick Bowl. Sharp, on the other hand, he may have the shittiest running backs in our entire league. Other than Hugh, who must not be named, the tradiest backstabbing motherfucker, Bird has Justin Forsett and Chris Johnson and Noshawn Moreno. And we're not talking like Noshawn Moreno last year with the Broncos. We're talking Noshawn Moreno with the Dolphins. And Justin Forsett, yeah, Ray Rice is kind of fucking up his career, but still. And Chris Johnson, let me give you a tip, Sharp. Don't start Chris Johnson. Ever. In fact, trade him. Put him on the waivers. Say, fuck him. You don't need him. Useless, absolutely useless. So good job with that one. But the thing that really fucks Sharp is he has the best defense from last year, and they score -1 points. Seattle Seahawks -1 points this week. There's the win. If they just score 0, Sharp wins. So it was kind of surprising, but sometimes them's the breaks, right? Nice job, Dick. All right. After that, Barron got his ass handed to him by Porge, 92 to 133. Barron's running back, Bishop Sankey, carried the ball twice for 3 yards, netting 0 points. Yeah. And then the football gods completely shat on Barron for getting greedy. Essentially, Barron has like the best set of wide receivers you could possibly have in fantasy. Like how we let this happen to the Rook, I don't know. But he has Calvin Johnson and AJ Green. And clearly the fantasy gods were like, nope, too much, fuck that. And AJ Green in the middle of the week comes down with some toe injury and then makes it like a play through the game, hurts himself again, aggravating the toe injury and getting 0 points. So 2 players in zeros, you're never going to win that matchup ever, ever. And meanwhile, Porge solidified a pretty shaky team performance for Honest. A lot of Porge's players really didn't do too much, but there was a 35-point monster performance by Jordy Nelson, and that really helped carry the game and really helped Jordan kind of secure the victory. It had to have really stung, though, because as we learned this week, Jordy Nelson is Zach's favorite white player because Zach lives in the segregated South where you have to have favorite white players and favorite black players. Instead of Zach just having a favorite player, Jordy Nelson is Zach's favorite white player. Do we ever really understand how Zach's mind works? I mean, I don't. I don't think I've ever even gotten close. So I guess we'll just let that kind of sit. Then Sheck beat out J-Ball 137 to 118. J-Ball corrected the errors from last week. He got rid of the free agents and the wife beaters, but came across a bit of a buzzsaw this week. Sheck's quarterback Aaron Rodgers and his tight end Jordy Nelson, or Jimmy Graham, sorry. Zach, you got the white thing in my head. So quarterback Aaron Rodgers and tight end Jimmy Graham put up a total of 64 points on the day. And that nearly outscored the rest of Sheck's team combined. Like I said, most of his players didn't really do that great, but those two were huge. And J-Ball probably could have found a win on any other week in this matchup if it weren't for that. And the fact that he made a questionable decision to start wide receiver Anquan Bolden over wide receiver Ruben Randall. Had he done that, he still wouldn't have won the matchup, but it would have been a bit closer. And, had Sheck's team played consistently awful instead of awful with just a couple of really good performances, J-Ball might have been at it. And finally, we have Bradley Gregg beating out Zach Zabella 104 to 147. And this earns Brad the weekly beer of the week, which I actually have this time. Some triple hops brewed Miller Lite. So since it was the matchup between last week's beer winner and this week's beer winner, I'm still just going to do one. But I toast to both of you. So to Brad and to late Zach, even though you lost, this should help you feel a little better. God damn, that tastes like shit. All right. Frankly, Z kind of lucked out that this wasn't an even greater ass kicking. Brad's tight end, Rob Gronkowski, only put up 7 points, which Barron, that means he didn't do that great, and that's really pretty bad for Gronkowski. You expect at least 10 to 12 out of him every week. So that was low for the Gronk, and then what was even lower was quarterback Tom Brady, who's usually like a 20, 25 point a week quarterback, only put up 11. They won like 30 to 7, but it was just a disappointing stats day. So Brad could have put up even more points. And Z, on the other hand, really didn't have that great of a showing. He had 6 players that scored 15 points or less, and of those 6, I think 4 of them scored in the single digits. So Z, you kind of lucked out. That could have been really embarrassing for you had things worked out the way you'd expect them to. But as I said, congrats to both of you for 2 weekly beers. Oh, why do I keep drinking this? All right. On to the standings. Like I said, it's only 2 weeks in, so things change very quickly. But in the Caroline Street, the weaker of the divisions, Jordan with the Strohs Bros has a 1-game lead on the Flying Squirrels and Team Zabangya, and a 2-game lead on Change Your Name. That shit sucks because Tom heckled Barron into coming up with a team name, and Ball You Hard, which might maybe be the worst team in the league. Both of those two. So combined, you put them together and it'd still be awful. And then over in the Pearl Street division, which is pretty stacked, my team A2Geo has a half-game lead on Word is Bird, a 1-game lead on I Can't Believe That by Bradley Gregg and The Goat, modestly named by Tom Gregg, and a 1.5-game over Wayne Brady is Gonna Djokovic, which is clever, but has nothing to do with football whatsoever, and you totally Googled it, Richard Sharp. So things are still pretty tight. Anything can happen. This week we have some pretty tight matchups. Bird is favored over me by 11 points. Tom is favored over Justin by 10 points. And Zach is a 5-point dog to Jordan. On the other end, somehow we still have 2 really ridiculous matchups where Sharp is a 27-point favorite over poor Barron and is expected over B. Sorry, Sharp is a 27-point favorite over B. And poor Barron is actually expected to lose to Sheck by 50. All right, I love you, dickheads, but not that much. Deuces.